Hey guys, welcome to Felting Fandom. My name is Kari and I like to needle felt all kinds of geeky things. Today I'll show you how I made this mini Adventure Time diorama. I'll list all of the supplies needed down below if you'd like to take a stab at your own.
Algebraic!
Alright, first you'll want to find a tree in the woods and chop out a perfectly smooth little slice. Or you can buy them online. Now we need to measure and cut a felt sheet that we'll glue to the top. This is optional. It didn't actually do what I had hoped, so up to you. It looks kind of nice, I guess. Try and fail to attach some core wool to the felt sheet.
What the lump?
This layer is too thin to attach any wool to. Instead, take some core wool and pre-felt that into a disc shape. This doesn't need to be fully felted, just enough to add some cushioning to the wood. And we'll glue this onto the felt sheet. Now we can start felting more wool onto the base. You'll still need to be careful and felt at an angle so you don't break your needles. Keep adding wool until you've made a nice little hill, which we can then cover in green wool. We'll add a few more details later on. Now we need to build the armatures using armature wire and some pliers. I'll work on Finn first. Adventure Time characters have quite simple designs. They have long, skinny limbs and their hands conveniently blend into their arms. I hate making hands. Jake will be similar, just a bit shorter, and since Jake has stretchy powers,
I can be anything that you could ever... I lost focus.
we'll make one arm extra long. Now, on to covering the armature, and oh my glob, this was frustrating. In theory, this is simple enough. Just wrap the wire with wool and felt it into place. The body is fine, but since the limbs need to be so skinny, we can only use a very thin layer of wool, and it needs to be perfectly wrapped and very carefully felted. If you get too frustrated, just remember,
Sucking at something is the first step towards being sorta good at something.
and also remember to anchor your wool to the body before you wrap the limbs so they don't slip. Finish the feet by wrapping the extra wool and tucking/felting it into place. The arms basically work the same as the legs, but we're going to be a little bit lazy and just blend the hands into the arms. I hope that's acceptable.
Unacceptable!
With the limbs done, we're easy peasy living greasy, and we can start on Finn's clothes. I wrapped the lighter blue around his chest and the darker blue around his booty, and felted the layers until they were firm. To make the short legs and the shirt sleeves, wrap a small amount of wool around the limbs and attach them to the torso. Then gently felt in place, trying to avoid poking the wool through to the other side of the limbs. For Finn's shoes, attach some black wool to his ankles and wrap/felt until his toes are covered. His socks are very simple. Take a thin strip of white wool and attach it to the top of his shoes. The angle can be a bit awkward, so mind your fingers. Backpack time! To make Finn's backpack, I first rolled my darker green wool into a ball and felted it until it was fairly firm. Then I did the same with the light green and attached them together. Roll a little oval of dark green and attach that for the button, and then we can attach this to Finn's back. If it's not sticking, add a little loose wool underneath the pack to help. To make the straps, felt both greens into two thin strips and attach them in the middle. Felt until firmly and securely attached. Now we can connect them to the backpack. Make sure the ends are hidden on the back side of the backpack. This little dude is up next. Well, we won't actually make the sentient version of Finn's hat. I made Finn's hat by tightly rolling some white core wool and felting it into a firm, roundish shape. I covered the core wool in some nicer tops wool and felted that smoothly. Attach 2 balls of wool to form the ears, and spamow! You've got a bear hat. Now it's time to face the face. Finn's face. Firstly, loosely roll a ball of beige wool and tack it into place. Felt until it's smooth, and you can use a thumbnail to help make a sharp edge. Finn's eyes are super easy. Roll 2 tiny balls of wool and felt them into place. For his smile, I used a super thin pinch of wool, rolled it, and tacked that into place. I also decided to add some blushy cheeks to bump up the cute factor. Now, we just need to unite Finn's head with his body. Be sure to take your time doing this to make sure they're properly connected. And Finn the human is done, so on to Jake the dog. You've already had some practice with wrapping Finn's armature, so this should be as easy as...
Making pancakes, making bacon pancakes.
Well, maybe not, but we gotta do it anyway. Now we're about halfway through the video, and it would be lumping awesome if you could like and subscribe. The more this little channel grows, the more geeky projects I can share with you guys, and I have a bunch more in the works. What would you like to see me felt next? Once the armature is wrapped, we can start to bulk up Jake.
Hey, baby.
Not like that. Add extra layers of wool to build up his head and his torso. And let's not forget his butt. To make Jake's tail, take a small strip of wool and fold it down to size. Felt one end to a point and leave some loose fibers on the base to help attach it. Felt until it's securely attached to the body. The ears are made with 2 little bits of wool felted into ovals and then attached to the sides of Jake's head. I only partially felted them before attaching them, and finished once they were in place. If you do it this way as well, please be careful not to stab yourself. It hurts.
I might just start to cry again, you know?
Okay, now we need to felt a long tube that will become Jake's muzzle. Don't felt it all the way. We'll complete the felting once it's attached, but don't attach it yet. We've got something else to do first. Eyeballs. I made Jake's eyes by rolling 2 balls of black wool and tacking them into place, and then felting them until they were flat and smooth. I used my thumbnail to felt a clean edge. Next, I made 2 smaller balls of white wool, which I positioned looking slightly right and up. Now we can attach Jake's muzzle. Tack it into place and felt it down to the right size. My first attempt at Jake's nose was way too big, so that had to come off. Take 2, and this one is a much better size. Last thing is Jake's mouth. We'll just stick with a simple smile. Take a tiny strand of wool and tack it into place to give Jake his little grin. Work from one side to the other. And with that, our boys are done. Now we can attach them to the base and decide how to pose them. Originally, I had planned to have them standing, but I like the more casual look with them sitting and their feet hanging off the base. Even though wrapping the armature was a pain, I'm glad I did it. Being able to properly pose them gives the piece a lot more life. Jake's extra long arm comes in handy so he can reach Finn's shoulder. Cute. Make sure that Jake and Finn are really well attached to the base. You don't want them going anywhere. You can use glue, but felting should be enough. Now let's decorate the base with some tufts of grass and a few rocks here and there. But it seems like something's missing. You didn't think I'd forget the snail, did you? There are some needle felters who can make perfect, tiny, micro-felted pieces. I am not one of them. In all honesty, I spent almost an hour on this snail, and he's far from perfect. It's very difficult to add detail on something so small. Those eyes took at least 6 tries. They kept going through the other side of his head. But I'll stop apologizing and stanking it up with my bad vibes. It is what it is. Here's the snail. And we're done. I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out, and I'll definitely be making more mini dioramas in the future. Having a base makes the piece look much more finished. Thank you so much for watching, and please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. It helps me grow this little channel. Let me know in the comments, what geeky project would you like to see? Bye!